The last keynote speaker we do have for you tonight is a Dutch-Canadian photographer raised in Italy. He has lived in Haiti and Paris. We can say he's a true global citizen. Paolo Woods combines photography and investigative journalism. Let's welcome him on stage.
Good evening. I'm going to tell you about my last project. It's called Happy Pills. In 2016, I had just finished a long photographic project on tax havens, a reality that defines our financial system, but very difficult to translate in images. I wanted to start a new project on another globalized industry at the core of our lives, the pharmaceutical industry. Arnaud Robert, who is a Swiss journalist and writer with whom I had worked for many years when I lived in Haiti, had just finished a long reportage on the life of a drug, from the research lab until it becomes a generic. Our interests intersected again, and we decided to start where we had left our previous project, the streets of Port-au-Prince. These gentlemen are street vendors. In one of the poorest countries in the world, this is what a pharmacy looks like. But also a clinic, as the vast majority of Haitians do not have enough money to go to the doctor, and therefore these salesmen become doctors, therapists, and obviously pharmacists. They walk the streets of Port-au-Prince with these chemical Babel towers. Untrained merchants sell anything they can get their hands on, from antibiotics to anti-malaria pills, aspirins and contraceptives, fake Viagra and real abortion pills, often with little or no knowledge of what they're peddling. They told us that the tower must be beautiful, harmonious, and that the pills, like colored candy, must entice. I immediately thought they were works of art, and I wanted to photograph them as such. They are totems that promise the miracle of healing. The pill is a recurring motif in our collective unconscious and in pop culture. Think from Alice in Wonderland to The Matrix. It offers an almost magical solution, an immediate and mechanical response to all human difficulties. From Haiti to Switzerland, a country for which the pharmaceutical industry accounts for half of all exports. At a university in Freiburg, we met a scientist who specializes in tickling rats. Yes, rats laugh, or at least until Diana Roccaro, the researcher, destroys a part of their brain in search of the place where the ability to laugh resides. It's called the parafox. And when Diana, with the help of a laser, removes that area, her mice don't laugh anymore. We're in the most advanced research. Imagine, one day we could chemically stimulate an area of the brain in order to triggering hilarity. But after weeks in labs and luxurious Swiss PR offices of big pharma, we realized that what we really interested for us was not the pharmaceutical industry itself, but our relationship with this industry. We decided to go and see customers, those like us, here in a series of serial photos that I took with Gabriele Galimberti in a signature style. In more than 20 countries, we asked a very simple question: show us your pills. A medicine cabinet is a biographical record, the expression of a person's life, a unique archive of past disorders. It's also a confessional, revealing secrets behind our swinging moods, inner feelings, and weaknesses. These pharmaceutical mirrors provided us with an initial understanding of what we set out to investigate in the project Happy Pills. We went to meet people for whom a drug had a fundamental role in their life, not so much to heal them from a specific disease, but to heal them from our condition of humanity, of humans. We started out in Italy with Roy Dolce. Roy Dolce is a professional gigolo, a male prostitute. For him, Viagra is a work tool, an implement. The erection is proof, says Roy. He is here with a client in a 5-star hotel in Montecatini Terme. So each year, 4 billion Viagra pills are consumed worldwide, just Viagra. That's not including all the other medicines. That is 1 for every single living male. Clearly, the vast majority of these pills are not consumed by people who suffer from erectile dysfunction, but by those looking for mechanical success, the security of a performance, the reliability of chemistry against the unreliability of our brain. The drug is not used to cure, but to reassure. That is, it is not consumed for its medical benefits, but more for its almost miraculous promise of performance, success, and in short, happiness. Here, we had found our title, Happy Pills. If Roy grotesquely embodies our obsession with performance, we then went to India to see our obsession with the body. India is the new bodybuilding mecca that will soon dethrone the United States. Vishal, in this photograph, the hand of Vishal in this photograph, is a trainer. We followed for weeks. He's about to inject testosterone into one of the athletes he trains. The local pharmaceutical industry produces, exports, and sells under-the-counter steroids, growth hormones, and other products that athletes use to quickly obtain what is not obtainable in nature. The bodies of bodybuilders are hypertrophic bodies of useless, spectacular, theatrical force. They are bodies that mimic strength without having it. Bodybuilders are not strong. They are the representation of extreme virility, but are actually the embodiment of the opposite. In fact, the hormones which bodybuilders inflate their muscles in an obscene way cause the testicles to shrink, and in many cases cause impotence. So appearing is more important than being. I saw this in this emblematic way in competitions, where the moment of the maximum pose, the one where all the muscles must be exhibited, swollen to the limit of explosion, the bodybuilder's etiquette require competitors to smile. These are smiles of pain. From steroids that guarantee unbelievable bodies, we have moved on to the aching bodies of the farmers in Niger. Alzuma, who you see here, his life is divided between the sidewalks of Niamey, where he is a vegetable vendor, and Lugabanda, the village he is originally from, and where he returns regularly for the work in the fields. He is also a consumer of tramadol, a powerful opiate that we use in the West to treat pain and that has flooded sub-Saharan Africa, causing a real epidemic comparable to the opioid crisis in the United States. Alzuma and millions of other young Africans don't consume tramadol to get high, but to cure an endemic disease, fatigue. This message which is passed is that fatigue is a disease and must be treated as such. And there's a ready-made cure in a blister for a few francs. For Alzuma, tramadol means continuing to work in the fields that produce less and less every year, pushing his cart on the scorching streets of the capital and deluding himself that he is no longer limited by his body. In the village of Alzuma, there's no electricity, no running water, but the ground is littered with used medicine blisters, mainly painkillers. The pharmaceutical industry is present where no other industry has yet arrived. I photographed these soiled grounds like a contemporary archaeology, evidence of past pains, of sufferings that have taken place. In one of the poorest countries in the world, farmers who earn less than $1 a day find the money to buy opioid and think, just like we do, that a pill will solve their problem. When we say happy pills, we tend to immediately think of antidepressants. We have just left a country which according to all statistics is amongst the most desolate. And we come to one that meets all the object criteria, that measures well-being, and that regularly finishes in the top 5 of the happiest countries according to the World Happiness Report done by the UN. But in Switzerland, a quarter of the population will suffer during their lifetime of depression, a quarter of the population, that requires a medical treatment. Yes, Happy Switzerland is one of the world's biggest consumer of antidepressant. Patrick, which you see here in the image, suffers from acute depression with suicidal tendencies. Patrick lives in a landscape that looks like a postcard. When he's not in a psychiatric clinic, in the last days we spent with Patrick and his partner, we realized that the pills he takes are like life jacket that stops him from totally drowning. But his floating is always threatened. Yes, Patrick is still alive and hasn't committed suicide, but the promise of happiness is not kept. Happiness, instead, is found in the album that Patrick had made to celebrate his love with his partner, and that she leaves through almost every day trying to believe that what those photos tell. But what you find in the album is the mere representation of happiness. It's coding to show to others and to ourselves. Then perhaps a possible definition of happiness is to be happy is to appear happy. Photography is a great accomplish of this bluff. In the United States, more than 10% of teenagers are diagnosed with ADHD. We meet back the work that Ramon showed us before. Attention deficit disorders. That's more than 3 million kids under 18 who are prescribed amphetamine, such as Ritalin or Adderall. It's mass consumption. Addie, 15, lives in Massachusetts and is one of them. Her school results were a bit disappointing. Her mother was afraid that her daughter would have a mediocre school career. So the school advised her to have a daughter tested for ADHD in one of the clinics that tend to come back always with a positive result. At this point, Addie will have a number of advantages in school. More time for the exams, permissions to use a mobile phone in class, lower grades necessary to pass her year, less homework, but she will have to take her pills every day. The drug is designed to help Addie concentrate, but it also serves to reassure her mother and to even out all the difficulties of adolescence, to chemically level disparities of life. And this normalization we can find also in Addie's phone. On her Instagram, where the standardization is Addie with a tongue hanging out in every single photo. Maybe happiness is being like the others. The one smoking in the center of this image is Maurice, at one of the many gay parties that take place in Tel Aviv during the Gay Pride. Maurice, like most of the other men present, takes a PrEP pill daily. PrEP is a medicine that protects you from getting HIV. Basically, it's a chemical condom. It is therefore possible to have unprotected sex without the risk of AIDS. It is a pill against fear, against a fear that had paralyzed the gay community since the spread of AIDS in the 80s. In Israel, it is subsidized by the state and produced by Teva, the world's largest generic pharma company, which churns out millions of pills 24 hours a day, just a few kilometers from where the party is taking place. Maurice is 27. He tells me, in the future, we will have pills to prevent all diseases. And he doses the chemistry to control every aspect of his life, to wake up and to sleep, to get high and to wind down, to get an erection and go to the gym. He consumes pills and partners almost obsessively. Here again, we entered his phone, his Grindr account, which is a gay dating app, where thousands of headless, geolocalized bodies are there for him to choose from. There are standardized torsos, desire pills to be quickly gobbled in a bulimic manner. For Maurice, the PrEP is a happy pill because it allows him to consume without the fear and without obstacles. But perhaps the only real happy pill is the one that makes us stop taking all other pills. The one that will stop us being dependent. The one that will give us the ultimate freedom. The one that Louise took. Louise had pancreatic cancer. He decided to forego all possible treatments. For me, happiness is a voluntary state which excludes addiction, which excludes medical slavery, he told me. Louise was a French writer and decided to go to Switzerland to die with dignity because it's forbidden in this country. We followed him on his long journey, on his last journey, all the way to the clinic in the suburbs of Basel, where he took a lethal dose of pentobarbital, now used only for assisted suicide and on death row in some American prisons. When I told Louise that I wanted to accompany him to the end, he said he would drink champagne, we would drink champagne together just before he departed. That did not happen. Louise was too sick at the end. But seeing him happy on his deathbed, I told myself that maybe that was the real, only happy pill. The most counterintuitive, the hardest to swallow. The one which is not addictive. Arnaud and I traveled the world to see if it is possible to encapsulate happiness. The task of defining happiness has long been delegated to religions, philosophies, or even politics. Today, the universal quest seems more and more to be the province of the pharmaceutical industry, which uses all the tools of the modern age, science, marketing, and communication, to offer to everyone a standardized and automatic response to the ultimate human aspiration. Ads for drugs always tell the same story. A problem, a pill, happiness, condensed and summarized in a smile, like these from American drug ads. More than ever, to be happy is a duty. Thank you.